So first things first, I guess we're gonna take him apart since it's kind of pointless to do anything with him attached to the chassis still. Oh, well, he had a battery in him. Huh. Oh, geez, this is a dusty mechanism. Okay, yeah, this is why we're gonna open him up and clean him out, because he very desperately needs it. Jesus Christ. All right, so that should be the majority of the hair and dust out of that mechanism. So let's go ahead and take off the motor itself, since just to make things a little easier, I want to try to have him in as many parts as possible so we can focus one on one. And now we have the motor separated, and all right, that should be all we really need. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna leave these back bogies in, but I'm gonna remove these side rods and leave these other two in here, since the goal now is to turn the chassis block a matte black and give his running board a proper white coat. So let's go ahead and get on that. And now we are left with this very basic chassis block. Like I said, I have the back bogie removed completely, as well as the side rods and the motors, so we can focus on just getting this a good base coat of black. I'm gonna mask off the buffer beams sides here. Honestly, we might just mask off this entire top and go for one black coat for the under first. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Alright, so while the chassis dries, let's take a look at this main body piece. Now, as I'm sure you can tell, there's a little bit of damage from, you know, just being a kid on here. There's a little bit of paint chipping on the cab roof. There's a couple places around here that just need a bit of improvement. There's a couple marks on the face. He could be looking better. And I'm thinking the first thing we're gonna do is try to smooth out this roof, and I actually plan to replace this face entirely with something a little bit more classic series. So let's go ahead and get on removing that. All right, so here is our updated face. It needs to be secured a little bit better. I know the blue tack is showing through the eye right now, sadly, but it is going to attach right on the front of the boiler like so. And here is James when he's put together. I'm not gonna put him together the full way just yet because, like I said, I still have to work on the body a bit, but here he is in his red glory. There's still quite a bit I have to do. Like, I'm deciding if I wanna weather him since he's a little bit, you know, on the more rough side, maybe try to hide that. And I'm also debating maybe painting a little bit more on the tender here. So I still also have to do the roof. I completely forgot about that. So let's go ahead and smooth that out. Maybe even repaint the smoke box. I might give this one coat of black real quick, and we'll see where it takes us from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are with our customized Trackmaster 2009 James. Now, as you can see, I did quite a bit. I gave him the white running board, painted the little lamp irons, repainted the buffers since they definitely needed them, and smoothed out the roof in as many places as I could. Unfortunately, here in the back you can see there are a couple places that could have been done a little bit better, but being that this was a toy that was, again, played with, these things happen. And here's another close-up of the model. Now, again, unfortunately, there are some smaller bits that, you know, very clearly show that this was a toy that got some love. So I'm thinking the weathering will be able to not only cover those up, but maybe give a little bit more life to this model. This personally is one of my favorite, you know, again, Trackmaster James models to ever be made. So to see it with a little bit of extra detail and, I don't know, just in this way is super cool to me, even though I could have bought a Plarail and got this same result. But I don't know, it just feels good knowing I did this, I guess. Oh, I also forgot he has a black chassis block. I repainted the wheels a bit, and this is now the completed Trackmaster 2009 James. And with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's see him in action. What the fuck?
When you meet a businessman, you must shake him by the hand.
One of my favorite Trackmaster and Tomy models is probably the Percy. It's nostalgic, it looks good, and it gets the job done. But there's one thing about it that's always kinda irked me. Why is it as big as literally every other engine? Now, we know logically it's because it has to fit a pretty big battery, but I'm pretty sure there's other engines smaller than that that have maybe smaller batteries that, I don't know, seem more a fitting size. Why didn't they ever fix this? Well, if that wasn't enough context clues, that's exactly what we're talking about today. I've wanted to make a custom Trackmaster Percy for a while, one that had a more fitting size and maybe more of a unique take. And thankfully, after the Lakota Train Show, I did just that, or had the opportunity to. That being all thanks to my friend Robbie, who sold me a Trackmaster Charlie there. Now, kinda like I hinted in the beginning, Trackmaster Charlie is a very small Trackmaster model. Smaller than Percy, which to me is, I don't know, if they can make Charlie this small, why did they never make Percy this small? Just why? Well, using that Charlie, I decided I would finally do what Tomy and Trackmaster never did. Make a somewhat accurately proportioned Percy. So the moment I had this Charlie, I pretty quickly took him apart. The cab was pretty important, I wanted to keep that intact. But I took off the pretty square boiler he normally has, and also did some modification to the chassis. I took off the side rods, the front wheels, and the motor completely, and then using a Dremel cut off the middle wheel, pretty easily making it an 040. The model would need a new boiler though, and the only thing I had on hand was a, well, spare Trackmaster Scarloey. The lining would be a little bit different, but I did want this to be an odd take on Percy anyway, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And pretty quickly that was cut down and fit to the front as well. I also decided the smoke box was a little off and didn't actually reach the footplate all the way, so that was replaced with a Tomy James one. I removed the Scarloey nameplate and the original cab sticker of the Charlie, and pretty quickly had the entire thing primed over. For the chassis itself, before I reassembled it, I sprayed the entire thing a matte black. This a couple times over so the black wouldn't rub off when it's running. And of course did some tests to make sure that was okay. Once that was done, it was time for the green, this time being a part green from Tamiya. And shortly after that came hand painting the matte black, this being done with apple barrel. Originally I was going to mask off and spray the cab details, but I decided that would be a little too risky this far into the customization, so instead I got some painter's tape, masked it off as best as I could, and hand painted on the cab door and cab windows. On the left side the door was a little bit thin, and on the right side the window was a bit, well, short, but this thankfully was pretty easily fixed, and for the first time in forever I think that actually worked. And the side of Percy was pretty quickly done. For the lining on the boiler I used a red paint pen, and then using the same matte black I used for the smoke box and smaller details painted the buffers and, well, other small things. At this point I decided I wanted Percy to be a little different amongst the other Trackmaster engines I have, so I weathered him up pretty well. If you've seen my video on it, you may know Put Upon Percy is my favorite Percy episode ever, if not my favorite Thomas and Friends episode ever, so a well-used look is something I'm pretty fond of. Sadly for a while he didn't have a face, but I did find an old Percy toy, took the face from that and put that on the front. I do need to match some paint to touch it up, but at least he has one for now. The entire thing was sealed in with matte clear. I refitted a battery and did some test runs.
Percy.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to where Percy is now. My first real custom Trackmaster in almost 2 years. And what do I call this thing? Well, I don't really know. During the process, I had Audrey's spare Percy in mind, since that's a model I'm pretty fond of, but let's be honest, it doesn't really look like that at all. If you ask me, it kind of looks like a Caledonian pug. So maybe you can call it that, maybe you can call it Audrey inspired. I just call it accurately proportioned. And Percy, my take on him, I guess. And now I kind of need your guys' help. What should I do for the 6? I've been torn between getting a decal to fit on the side or maybe just hand painting a 6 on. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you think would be better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the long and short of how I made this Percy. There's really not much to say about it besides I had the idea and decided to do it. And thankfully, if you ask me, it turned out pretty okay. This is a model I'm very fond of. I told myself I wouldn't make others besides this, but I kinda want to make a Thomas to go beside him now too, so expect this guy to hopefully have some friends in the near future. But with all of that being said, let's finally see this guy in action.
He's a trooper.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. And really quick, I'd like to apologize for my voice being a little off in this video. My allergies have hit me like a freight train recently, so I might sound a bit sickly. But hopefully that aside, you maybe learned a little bit for your Trackmaster custom needs, and enjoyed the process of how I made my smaller Percy model.
As always, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to my patrons for making videos like this possible. If you want to see that Thomas or other videos like this early, be sure to check that out in the description. And with all of that being said, thanks again for watching, guys. And I'm gonna go make myself some tea and try not to sound like a dying Shrek. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think anything can compare to Tomy or Trackmaster. Or Plarail, we'll throw that in. Not recently, definitely not recently. And thinking about Trackmaster, while its big thing may be things like Action Canyon, I would argue Tomy made something just as, if not, technically cooler. And that was the ultimate set, but we're not talking about that today. And that was the Steam Along Thomas. Now, if you had this toy, I don't have to explain anything to you. A metallic blue Tomy Thomas that steamed with a red LED in the funnel. It sounds awesome. And trust me, as a toy, it was. The only thing I didn't like about it as a kid was the fact that Annie had to be connected to it. And honestly, it's understandable why. Of course, I didn't really know this until later, but the smoke mechanism inside of Thomas was a fairly simple but pretty complex one, and you simply couldn't fit that along with a battery inside of him. Annie was pretty much essential to that steaming part. So imagine my sadness when my Steam Along Thomas doesn't steam. The Annie thankfully worked so it could still move, but Thomas completely lost all steaming capability, probably due to a short wire or something like that. But it also gave me a thought and the perfect opportunity to do something I've always wanted to do. Make that Thomas on the front a solo runner. It's not a big deal that Thomas had Annie. Like I said, that was essential to the steaming aspect. But now that the steaming thing doesn't work, you know, that body looks oddly close to Thomas in the Magic Row. You get where I'm going with this. Pretty quickly, I took the entire thing apart and tried to fit it to a normal Tomy chassis. Naturally, this would take some modification though. Most notably taking out the Dremel and going crazy on the inside of this guy. On both sides of the tank, there were screw areas that had to be completely removed. The cab roof itself had to be trimmed down just a little bit, and as you'll soon see, the back of the cab doesn't have a window area anymore because that had to be removed too. Thankfully, however, the electronics themselves were on the chassis part and in the smoke box, which would later be replaced too. So once that was done came the scariest and hardest part, making the switch compartment. Now, thankfully, now that it's over and worked out, I can say it wasn't too bad, but during doing this, it was just terrifying. Basically, I just took a Dremel and made 2 incisions on either side, and then used a pin vise to cut that out, then using a file to smooth out the area. And it's still not the most smooth, I guess. I could have done a little bit better, but once it was done, so was I. I was not risking messing up this entire thing. I had already lost its steam capability, I wasn't losing the shell too. I also at this point decided to do the normal modifications I would do to anything. I did what Tomy should have done and painted the chassis block black, gave him his white running board, and then painted on the extra smoke box details and his lamp irons. The wheels would be a bit more complicated, shall we say. For this, I had to go to a local hobby shop, and luckily found a new Tamiya color, that being PS49. This is a metallic color, and those are not things I normally work with, but it was thankfully pretty simple to use. Basically, you get that in a can of TS5, which is their normal black, apply that as a primer, and then the blue on top of it. This worked tremendously well, and though it doesn't always show up on camera, the blues matched way more than I ever expected them to. Now, to me, this Thomas has a Thomas and the Magic Railroad feel. I guess it's just the darker blue, and I hope to use this Thomas for purposes in that aspect. For that reason, I decided to cut out a cab door, this being on the same side Mr. C enters Thomas in the movie. And you may be picking up where I'm going with this. I'm planning to put a Mr. C in his cab. So technically, I can't call this Thomas done, at least until I have him in there. But with that complete, all I had to do was add his coal bunker, which is not accurate to Thomas and the Magic Railroad, but in something I just wanted to do, whatever. Reassembled the entire thing and gave it a coat of matte clear. Now, I just realized I forgot to talk about the smoke box and why I changed that. Now, the original Steam-Along smoke box had not only a lot in it that allowed it to steam in the first place, but also a bit bulkier and a bit longer than, say, the normal one you'd find on a standard Tomy Thomas. While part of me wanted to see if I could make this Thomas steam with a battery in it, it ultimately ended up being easier to just take the original Tomy smoke box that came with this chassis and the original Thomas and use that. So I took the face from the Steam-Along and put that on the old Thomas smoke box, fit that to the chassis, and believe it or not, that is the only bit that is glued down. The main body itself comes off so I can actually put batteries in and out of him, and currently is held down with a bit of blue tack. I'm hoping to design a piece that'll fit in the back and make it just a bit more secure, since I basically had to get rid of each and every whole compartment to make this work. Like I said, I even had to take out the back of his cab as a whole. This just to make it flush with the running board, so it's small prices to pay, I guess. Like I said, it was broken anyway, so this isn't something I'm too ashamed of. The way I see it, I gave new life to a broken model, and made a toy something that I can actually call a model. Or maybe not, it's just a Tomy. Like I said, these aren't projects I like to take too seriously. This all is just for fun. And thankfully, I can call this a success, not only because it worked out, but because it was just that, a blast to do. It may have been terrifying trying to paint match that body, which, just follow what I said. The TS49 is probably as close as you're gonna get. That is, if you're going the Tamiya route, I just choose to. But if you have a broken Steam-Along and ever had this idea, give it a shot, because it's really not as hard as we thought it was. I like to say if I can do it, literally anyone can, and that's because it's true. If I can make this work, I can guarantee you can do just as well, if not better. And I guess with all of that being said, that brings us to where Thomas is now. Probably my current favorite in my Trackmaster Tomy Plarail collection. Not only in the building process, but to see run. The idea of giving this old toy new life, at least to me, it paid off. And now I kind of feel like I've done a bit too much talking. Ladies and gentlemen, with... If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always more stuff on the way. And really quick, I'd like to give a huge thank you and shout out to my patrons. Not only for the loyal and generous support, but for making videos like this possible. If you want to see videos like this or projects in general early, be sure to check that out in the description. And with all of that being said, I'm gonna try to find a way out of this magic railroad place. I kinda have to use the bathroom and I can't find one. This is a dilemma.
You know, new Plarail, at least to me, is a bit of a mixed bag. I wouldn't say I hate it by any means, and it's definitely still better than Trackmaster Revolution, but let's be honest, some of these new releases are just bad, to say the least. That said, I'd definitely argue it's not everything, and today I have something that, personally, I've never seen before in Plarail or ever owned before. Here we have the 5-car, I think it's 5, yeah, 5-car pack that features Thomas, Nia, Ace, who we'll get to him later, and 3 different trucks. Now, this isn't a very new release. I'm pretty sure this came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not one of the super new 2022 Plarail things or anything like that, but it's definitely the newer version of anything that I own so far. I've also never seen the Plarail Nia in person, so this is gonna be something. The trucks, I believe, are also special too. From the box, or what it has on the box, it looks like these ones move, and again, this one carries 8. I'm gonna show you guys how to upgrade this pack very easily once we do open it. But before we do, there's a lot to say about this box. You can say anything you want about Plarail, but you can never knock the packaging they do for basically everything, especially their Thomas and Friends lines. I think my favorite part is where the engines are held, because if you look closely, there's little tracks. It's, I'm pretty sure it's the America in Wubba, but I'm not sure. I haven't really watched Wubba, so forgive me if I'm mistaken there. There's also a little diagram or diorama piece that comes with this set that'll sit in that background, and I don't think it's directly what's here. Yeah, here we have the train bridge and a bunch of stuff. This looks like it's just a bunch of animals and a desert, I think, but we shall see when we open this thing up. Now, the sides of the box are just as cool. Here we have a little cinematic piece that shows Thomas and Nia with their trucks. We have another thing showing Thomas. We have Nia. And, oh, I forgot. This thing comes with a snowplow. That's the reason I got this set over the singular Nia release, because I don't have any Trackmaster or Plarail engines with a snowplow at this moment, so that will be very helpful. And of course, this bastard, fake Lightning McQueen. That's just my sleep paralysis demon. At least the 8th circle of hell. I hate this guy, alright? I don't like Ace in any way, shape, or form, and I'm gonna keep expressing that, and I'm not sure if this is just a plastic Ace, or if this is maybe a die-cast Ace, or the Takara Tomy die-cast, if it's in this line. I don't think it is, just because this one's pictured here. I thought it was in this line, but maybe I'm wrong and it's die-cast and not a little shitty plastic car that could have been Elizabeth or Birdie, which I know doesn't tie into Wubba, but would have been better. I'm not going to go on this rant right now. All right, here's the back of the box. What's cool about the back is we have another diagram. This one showing, again, Thomas, Nia, her snowplow, 3 trucks, the loads that go in this truck, and I guess this is the yeah, here are the little pieces that'll hold the diorama up on either end. And we also have some dioramas showing how to open up Thomas, if you're not familiar, to hold the middle wheel, pull it down, and then pull the body off. I guess it's the same thing with Nia here. Little things on how to couple the trains up to the cars, and how to apply the snowplow, and how to apply... Yeah, some of these shouldn't have to be here, but I guess if you're a kid, there you go. Here we have the different warnings, which I wasn't going to read anyway, but I especially can't read these ones. And before I forget, here is... Can I even get it on camera? The sides of the box... Yeah, I'm just going to have to take a picture and show you guys separately, but the sides of the box are cool too. They have a diagram of Nia, Thomas, the trucks, and Ace again, and of the diorama. Yeah, can you tell I'm excited yet? This just looks phenomenal, and I'm going to do my best when opening it to not damage anything. I want to try to keep this intact if I can. But enough of the talking about the box. Let's just go ahead and see if these two live up to this hype, because I have never seen Nia, so here I go. I'm talking again. I'm ranting. All right, flip this over, and here we have the... Oh, it looks like everything's taped in. Let me get that really quick, and there we go. All right, it looks like this is the diorama piece. I guess since it was the first thing, we'll go ahead and take a look at this. It is cardboard. I don't know what I thought it was going to be on like plastic or something. I don't know what I was expecting, but we have little gophers, I think. cactuses, little eagles, coyotes. Yeah, it's just a desert. It's cool, though. It definitely matches, I guess, at least the vibe of the box. Like, I don't know if this fits into an episode. I didn't care to watch Bubba, and I don't think I'm ever going to care to watch Bubba. So let me know in the comments if this makes any sense at all. But let's go ahead and get into what we really care about, shall we? The engines and rolling stock. All right, let's go ahead and get Nia 2, just for simplicity's sake, just so I don't have to worry about it later. I'm messing up this box way more than I wanted to, but it's okay, because if I ever put them back into it, they will hopefully hide it. Oh, this is scary. Okay. That's enough of that. Let's take a look at this Thomas. Okay, this is... Oh, come on. Got rid of those real quick, and this is... Alright, this is a lot better than I expected. I've been waiting to say this, but I thought this Thomas was going to have sticker detailing, at least on the sides. He does on the windows and a sticker lamp here on the back, and I'm very happy he doesn't. That's just a pet peeve of mine, but just knowing how I was when I was a kid and how I played with these, they would get messed up pretty constantly. So to see they didn't do that with this model is relieving. We also see Thomas has a CGI face with some little red blush, and I have to say it's pretty adorable. This is a model that I'm pretty fond of so far. Like, I can't say I have too many things to knock about it. I really like I think this is a newer style of running board. I almost want to say this is a darker gray than it used to be. But unfortunately, it seems they got a little bit of red paint on my dome there. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get that off. Great. But that aside, this Thomas is... I really like this. This is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Of course, I do have the normal gripes I have with literally every Plarail, like, why didn't they paint the chassis block? I think that's about it, honestly. So thankfully, that should be a pretty easy fix. That aside, he's a bit dusty, but nothing too bad. It's a pretty solid Thomas. I'm not sure if this is unique to this set. Like, I don't know if there's many other rosy-cheeked Thomases out there, but if you're looking to get Nia, I recommend at least getting this set, because if you need a new Thomas, you get that, you get 3 cars, and something to destroy if you're so in the mood. And here's a closer look at him before we switch over to Nia. And speaking of her, let's just go ahead and do it, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty hyped. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and pop these pieces right on out of her. Get those out, and ladies and gentlemen, here is the Plarail Nia. And okay, this is different. I have to say I'm a little let down, just a little bit, at the fact that this here is a sticker. I'm not gonna go through the tirade again of why that stinks. Just if you're a kid playing with this, my bad, be careful, because you just might end up messing up a toy you really like. And besides that, this model is very well detailed. I like the tanks here on the side. It seems to have the overall proportions of Nia pretty much all there. Here's a look at the face, and a nice little gold lamp there at the top. Orange pistons here. This is... Excuse my lack of things to say. I'm kind of trying to debate if this is better than the Trackmaster model. I know that in itself is a bit of a loaded debate that happens sometimes, but even with these stickers, I think I'm going to give it to the Plarail Nia. I think I have to. The Trackmaster face is probably a little bit better. You don't have to worry about the detail as much. It's printed on, so it's, you know, there's that, and I can't knock that, especially with how much I've talked about it. But you see that? You see the ability to just push her around and not have a battery in her? Does Trackmaster Revolution have any engine that can do that? I don't think it does. So if we're just going off that alone, she wins. Plus, overall, I feel like they got everything right. Like I said, the proportions are there. The face is nice. The color schemes are... I just noticed that the sticker's a little bit of a different orange than her body. So I guess if you wanted to count that, that's a little off, but... That aside, even as somebody who dislikes the stickers this much, it's not that bad. I think I'm going to give it to the Plarail Nia. I also don't have a Trackmaster to put her up beside anyway, so I might be a little biased. And here are these two together. The good thing about Nia, I guess, so far is she hasn't been messed up from the factory or anything. Still need to find a way to get this off of Thomas. I don't think it's just gonna scratch off like I was hoping, but who knows? We'll give it a shot. And now that we've gone through these two, let's go ahead and take a look at these little add-ons, shall we? The trucks and the cursed car. All right, so here we have a look at the, I think, yeah, there's the snowplow. These are the little pieces that hold up the diorama, and this should be the load for the plank truck. And speaking of the plank truck, here we have a look at this guy. So these style of troublesome trucks have the CGI faces, and I think you already know what I'm going to say here. I prefer the original, actual troublesome looking Tomy faces, but this is fine. It's definitely printed a lot darker than the last ones were, and I want to say in maybe a higher def, I guess, if that matters at all. It seems a bit more shaded, but that aside, the reddish brown they chose for it it's a nice color. I do like this. What I really was excited for was this salt van, however, which has, look at this goofy motherfucker. He wasn't even on camera. Look at this goofy motherfucker. You weren't expecting this, were you? Look at his nose. Luigi the Wagon. It's something. I mean, like I said, I don't hate it. It's just, I really like salt vans, and I really like troublesome trucks. So I cannot say I dislike this, and I don't by any means, but I just kind of wish I had a salt van that didn't make me laugh immediately every time I saw it. He's not troublesome at all. He's distracting because the engines can't help but just geek every time they look at his Mario Brother ass nose. Oh, I'm also forgetting, do these move like how they, oh my god, that is adorable. I don't know if it's showing up on screen, but they don't rattle like I thought they did. They go up and down. Or at least the salt van does. Let's see if the truck does too. Oh my gosh, they both do. They dance. They're little dancing trucks. I'm going to put a video that shows this better on screen for this part, but that is so cool. All right, yeah, I have to highly recommend this pack after that. I didn't know I needed dancing troublesome trucks until I owned them. I guess this makes up for your goofy faces. Let's just go ahead and open up their little packs to put the little cargo in there and set up the diorama. All right, here are the little pieces that fit into the truck. I'm not exactly sure what they are. Like, they don't look like hay bales, or maybe they're just packages. They could just be boxes stacked up on top of each other. Who cares? He dances. And he has a load, so 2 wins for me. Let's get these out of here. Here's a closer look at Nia's snowplow. Now, this one's a little bit odd to me. I'm not sure why they just decided to paint it white when it's very, very easy. And we've seen this done by Trackmaster to literally just have painted it black, or maybe even orange if you wanted to be lazy, because the one on the show, if you can see here, was black. But if you really wanted to make it Nia's, just paint it orange and then dust over the white. Just dust it with a little bit of white, and it looks like she's actually clearing snow. I might have to do this just to save Plarail again. I'm very tempted to make a second video, like painting the chassis block on Thomas and Nia, and I guess maybe fixing the snowplow. Comment down below if you'd be interested in seeing that. And this just fits right on the front of Nia like so. It's kind of a, there we go. It's a snap fit directly on the front of Nia. And now she is ready to clear the tracks of snow. Even though this looks kind of nothing like the one they have on the box, it's still cool to see they cared enough to give Nia a snowplow in general. I know in Trackmaster it was a little more common, but in Plarail, to my knowledge, that's a little harder to come by. So to see they gave Nia, of all characters, her own is pretty cool. Like I said, this probably ties into Bwubba in some way, but I wouldn't know and don't care to. It just looks cool. And let's see, I wonder if this snaps onto Thomas. Probably not. Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, once it's on there, it's on there. Jesus Christ, I'm scared I'm gonna break it, but I'm gonna... Does this fit onto Thomas? It does. Oh my gosh. So it's an interchangeable snowplow. It doesn't just have to be on Nia. It can fit on Thomas, and I presume basically every other player. This is okay. Yeah, this just keeps getting better. I really like this set so far. Here we have the... Oh, if I can get it out of the box really quick. Let's see. The flat car, and... Sorry, my ADHD saw a moving part and was like, oh, I gotta mess with that. But this is the car that is supposed to hold it, and I think it's about time we talk about that since, there's not much to the flatbed besides what goes on it, I guess, so... ladies and gentlemen, here is... Ace. Here is Ace. Now, what is there to say about Ace? You motherf... But besides that, I think you have potential, maybe. Just maybe. I wouldn't promise it. So, jokes aside, surprisingly, this Ace is die-cast. This is not the plastic hunk-of-junk I thought it was going to be, besides the fact that it is Ace. And he looks pretty cool. He's got the tire on the top. He's got the unique little face there with his Flying Scotsman wannabe-ass eyebrows. Little brake lights on the back. His 43 is done pretty well. And he's a pretty solid little thing. He rolls pretty well. Fits on the flatbed pretty well. But you want to see how to upgrade this set just like that, to be so much better. Watch this. Watch this. Elizabeth. Wow. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, did I just make a 10 out of 10? Yes, I did. Whoa, what, is that another banger? Yeah, oh, just imagine. Just imagine, we got her, Thomas, a snowplow, a truck with a load. With a load. That dances, a salt van, that dances, with a flatbed and Elizabeth. Did I just give you another $1 million idea, Mattel? You're welcome. But no, it's cool. It's just, throw Ace in there. Throw Ace in there. I know he's a part of Blubba, and that makes more sense, but just hold that. Yeah, you did that. You did. Hold that L. Copyrighted. I'm taking this idea. I'm keeping it. I'm really not sure, but I'm thinking this actually is the Takara Tomy or the die-cast Ace. From what I can tell, they're basically the same. Yeah, I think these are the same. Maybe this one has different... This one looks like it has eyes that are going forward, but I don't know if that's a prototype and this is like the final model. I guess comment down below and let me know if I'm tripping out or not. But this is the complete set, ladies and gentlemen. We have Ace and his flat car, and I don't think I've showed him off completely on it yet. Here that is. We have Nia, who I honestly am quite surprised by. I think I forgot to mention she does not have a sticker on the front, so she doesn't have front windows, but neither does my custom Percy. Can't really complain there. We have CGI Thomas with these little rosy red cheeks, and Nia's snowplow, which he just so happened to finesse because Thomas be on that today. A dancing salt van who is just so goofy, but I love him. Just he bounces. He's got this funny face. Just who rendered your lips and why? They should be fired. No, scratch that. Give them a raise. Give them whatever they want. Protect them at all costs. The red-brown troublesome truck with a slightly less cursed CGI face with a, I guess, box load that also dances. And, oh, let's put together that backdrop. We totally forgot to do that. This is where it gets difficult. So you take this, right? And they expect you to just put, what? Twice? They expect you to put twice. You take the flipping cardboard and you put it in this little slot. Oh my god, that much effort. What is wrong with Plarail, man? They fell off. I should not have to do this. I shouldn't even be having to talk about this. I'm upset, bro. Nah, jokes aside though, this is the diorama. It's cool. It's fun. Eagles, woo! But yeah, there's that. That definitely isn't the highlight of this pack. If you're buying this, you're either getting it for Nia, CGI style troublesome trucks, or a new Thomas, or perhaps all of the above. And I guess throw Ace in there too if you really want. But like, I'm trying to forget about him. You should too. And I have to say, I am way more happy with this than I thought I was gonna be. I thought I was gonna have way more complaints than I actually do. I think the only one that I really have is I wish Nia had a little bit less on the sticker detailing and maybe more on the printed side. And if you're going to give us a diorama like this, maybe make it plastic card instead of cardboard. But I can't complain. But what else is there to say besides that? The trucks dance. Thomas has these adorable little rosy red cheeks. A snowplow. I guess that's Nia's snowplow, but it's Thomas's now, and she ain't getting it back. A flatbed, a doorstop. This is what... No complaints here, especially for the fact that this is roughly 50 bucks. I think that's what I paid after shipping, or maybe a little under. This was not an expensive set, and I got 2 engines, 3 trucks, a diorama that I'll do something with, and a new prop for train crashes. At the very, yeah, that's what I'll call you, a new prop for train crashes. So if we had to rate this thing, we'll say out of 10, I would give it, and not just to be nice, easy 8 out of 10. No, we'll go 9 out of 10. The only thing that's taking away from this set is my indigestion. No, if I'm being serious, again, the stickers are a little off-putting. I don't know whether or not I should knock the face or not. Like, does this take away points? Maybe not, because it's at least funny. You get a Thomas with a snowplow, a Nia that can wear the snowplow, a flatbed, Ace, 2 trucks, a diorama, 50 bucks. That's a pretty good deal. And the only thing I have to do on this Thomas to make him perfect is, again, paint the chassis block. So, there are, yeah, no complaints from me. This is an easy 9 out of 10. Without the stickers and the little bit of damage I got to Thomas, I guess on the dome there, and maybe on the back, that might just rub off. And this, if you want to even call it that, diorama, this was very well worth it. This is a set I'm very fond of. And enough talking about it. I feel like I've said that maybe like, what, 10 times now? What you want to see are them moving, and so do I. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on that, shall we? Add a cool transition here. I don't know who I'm talking. I'm my own editor. Who am I talking to right now? It blows my mind that Plarail could have the most accurate, or at least one of the most accurate Thomas toys on the market with one simple paint modification, and they just don't. They just choose not to do it. So some of you guys may remember the unboxing I recently did on the Plarail Thomas and Nia pack, and well, I've been busy. So far, I've only modified Thomas, but in that video, I mentioned if you guys would like to see me go through these modifications, and there's been quite a few people who have mentioned they would. Kind of like I said, the Plarail Thomas range is so close to being perfect. For example, this Thomas only needed that black chassis block. I also gave him a matte clear coat, but that was just for me, really more than anything. And with that simple modification, this Thomas has already gone up like 10 tiers to me, and I still have to do the same thing to Nia, also modify her plow, and today I'm going to show you guys how exactly I do that. And I guess go find the plow. So first things first, we'll do Nia herself, and to do Nia, we're going to need to do similar to what I've done to Thomas. Now, you don't need a matte coat necessarily, but I like to apply them first just to help the paint I add after that sit a little better. So really quick, we're going to clean her off and then apply her with a Tamiya matte clear coat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Nia, and I'm not gonna lie, at this point, it's probably hard to tell that I've done anything. I've only applied the matte coat, and after looking at the body and renders of Nia a little more closely, it turns out we don't need to paint the running board or anything like that. We still do need to get the chassis block, but she does have a red running board in the show, but she does have black lamp irons, so we'll have to fix that. The buffers are already completely black, so we aren't going to have to do similar to what we did with Thomas. This should be a pretty basic job. In time, I may replace this, I don't even know what to call it, morph of crap on the front with an actual Westinghouse pump, but for now, I kind of just want to focus on painting and the easier stuff that could be replicated at home by anybody. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get on fixing this chassis. So at this point, we're about finished up. I've got the chassis block on either side, the bottom. I've got the lamp irons painted, but in my excitement, not only today, but yesterday, I completely forgot or neglected to realize that these back buffers are not painted either. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna fix that really quick too. God damn it, thanks Plarail. Now I'm the idiot. All right, now we're gonna let that dry and hit it with one more coat of matte clear. Just the chassis, we're gonna leave the body alone now, not mess with that any more than we already have. And that should complete Nia as a whole, but we still have this snowplow to work on. And I think I've got a pretty good idea on how we're gonna get this to look at least semi-accurate to what it's supposed to look like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and now we have Nia complete just like Thomas, or I guess customized just like Thomas. They now have the black chassis blocks. She has proper pack buffers, her lamp irons painted. Wow, honestly, just, it's so simple. It's one of those things that you don't expect to bring a lot out of the model, but once it is there, it just completes it. Plarail, I'm begging you. It's like, what, 20? Save me the 20 minutes. You have the 20 minutes. You also have billions of dollars or a robot that could do this for, just do it. Come on, it's easy. It's simple. Now I'm dropping shit. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is our complete customized Nia. We have our Thomas here again, just in case anybody wanted to get another look at him. And now we have the snowplow. And what I'm thinking for the snowplow is, if you take a look at the box, it's actually supposed to be black instead of white, but I have an idea that'll keep the white the snowplow is intact while also making it look like it is black just being used. So let me go ahead and show you guys what I mean. All you need is the plow and some black spray paint. And what we're gonna do is basically focus the paint more on the top here and see if we can get a speckle more down to the bottom. Leave this area down here as white as we can, but make it look as if it's this snowplow here, where the top is black and the snow is just being built up on the top there. So I feel like I'm over explaining. You'll see, it's pretty simple. Alright, slight change of plan. I accidentally spray painted it all black, but I can fix it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back with the snowplow. Now, this did not go exactly as according to plan. I initially wanted to take the black and dust it over the top, but pretty quickly it took over the entire thing and it was all black, so I decided to add more white paint over top in a snow building fashion. The way I achieved that was flipping this upside down like so, and then taking white spray paint and kind of just dusting over the top, where you can see the bottom is pretty much all white, but this got speckled here on the sides and mainly the front. I then took just a little bit to the top to blend it in, and now I'd like to think this matches the one we see in, if I can get it on screen, the box here quite a bit more, if not infinitely more. And again, Plarail, not very hard, just I think the hardest part about doing this was the fact it was a windy day. I mean, come on. And let's go ahead and fit that to the front of Nia like so. Alrighty, that is, yeah, that's pretty much infinitely more accurate pretty instantly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have an upgraded Nia, snowplow, and upgraded Thomas. So I guess the only thing left to do is show them off a bit and show you how they run.
dam is broken. The logs are heading their way. It's an emergency.
Will do, but what can they do about it?
OJ's at Uptown. Tell him.
Right, on the way, 10 cents. A race against time. I'll beat 'em!
Look, don't stop for anything.
You know, recently, I think it's safe to say I've been back in a Trackmaster or Plarail mood, and for that reason, I recently found myself back at my storage unit to get my track and whatever I could of my trains back out. Inevitably, I would run into some old friends, and one of those old friends was somebody you may recognize. It feels like a lifetime ago, but a while back I made a video on a Oigawa Railway Thomas that I had weathered, and sadly when I found him, weathered would be an understatement. Sadly, at this point, he was pretty well banged up, didn't run too well, and was missing a face, but I did have an idea. I've recently been rewatching Tugs, and in the back of my mind, I've always kind of wondered, what if Plarail made a Tugs run? Of course, sadly, this never did happen, or maybe it did, and I'm from an alternate universe where it did, and stole this model from there. You can choose. And seeing as I now had an open C12 to do anything with, I figured I would give it a shot. This time making Puffa, my favorite engine of the Dock Railway. And you might be thinking, a C12, that's kinda random. And trust me, I know, it's definitely not the most accurate, but upon looking at it and putting it up against Puffa, most of the proportions were there, or at least enough for me. I also imagine if Plarail ever did this themselves, they'd probably just reuse some old tooling they already had. So I figured I would do the same, since I didn't want to buy a whole new engine for this. If you couldn't tell, I like making new things out of old stuff, and this was the perfect opportunity. So pretty quickly, I had the entire thing taken apart and sanded down a bit. From residing in a huge box with nothing but track, he had sadly taken quite a few dents, so that helped smooth those out, and also get rid of any lining and numbers he had before. To get a more accurate Puffa shape, I also decided I would remove his splashers, which thankfully was super simple. The smoke box itself comes off, and those are just little pieces that hang off of the side. So using an X-Acto and some pliers, I quickly had those off as well. Then using sandpaper to sand that area smooth. Thankfully, it turned out his chassis was just fine, just very dirty and needed quite a bit of maintenance. So I took the entire thing apart, redid the motor, separated each part of the chassis and sprayed it all a matte black, and then reassembled it for testing, and thankfully it worked just fine after that. I now decided to turn back to the body, and there was one big modification this thing needed. Or maybe didn't really need, but I wanted to do it, and that was getting rid of the molded wheel on the piston. I don't know why, these things just bother me, so if I ever get them on Plarail engines, I'm probably going to cut them off, and it was no different here. Using an X-Acto and some pliers, I managed to cut those off as well, then using a file to sand the areas smooth. And of course, if this is going to be Puffa, it's going to need a new funnel, so that was quickly removed and sanded down as well. I did leave a bit of remnant of the old funnel just to help me with placement of the new one. And for the new one, I would buy a die-cast one from eBay. This would take a few days to arrive sadly though. So until then, I got to work on the body. To fit a cowcatcher, I imagined the entire front end would need to be pretty much smooth like the rest of them. So soon after, I decided to remove that coupling and sand that smooth as well. Soon after this came priming, and it was also here I decided to be a little different with the paintwork. In most cases, Puffa is black, he is not a silver engine. That said, I imagine if Plarail made him, they would probably do something to make it a bit special. This was kinda my way. It also separates him from everyone else in my collection pretty drastically. I also just think it looks good. I like it. Picasso. Okay, moving on. If this was gonna be Puffa, he was gonna need a megaphone. How else is he gonna yell at the trucks? And for this, I would utilize a old 00 scale funnel. This was cut in half, sanded down, and painted a glossy red, then being applied to the front of his cab. I also decided to detail his cab a bit more now, painting in the side of his windows with a matte black. This being the same matte black I use for everything made by Apple Barrel. Puffa would also need a new smoke box door, and for this I also used a 00 scale one. I sadly don't remember what engine it came from, so you'll have to forgive me there. But the lamp itself is one of the ones made by Westcliff Works, and that was attached to the front and then glued on the front of Puffa. It's admittedly a little small. Puffa's actual one goes above his smoke box door, but this is, I don't know, it's casual enough for me. At the very least, it's unique. And pretty soon after that, I reattached the chassis to the body. He surprisingly was reaching completion pretty quickly, but sadly I still had to wait for that funnel and a new plow. Just for fun, I decided to 3D print some test parts, this being a mock funnel and what was supposed to be a mock snowplow as well. And while sadly I wasn't a fan of the funnel I printed, I really liked the cow catcher. It did need some smoothing, but after that and a quick repaint, it seemed to fit the front of Puffa pretty well. There sadly are a few dents, but I like to think that's, if anything, realism. And it fit the front a lot better than I initially thought it would, so that actually made it to the final model. The funnel, however, had to be waited for, but that quickly came in as well. Both parts were painted separately and then applied to the model. To fit the funnel, I ended up drilling a small hole in his smoke box, and that just slipped right inside. At this point, all I had to do was detail those lamps, use my apple barrel again to detail his funnel inside, or really anywhere I thought needed some, put them all back together and sealed it with matte clear. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to Puffa now, my first non-Thomas Plarail custom. He sadly may not be the most accurate, but it's enough for me. And now, thankfully, Salty has a reliable friend in the dockyard. And with all of that being said, I guess the only thing left to do is see him in action. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special unboxing today. And I know I've said that like 100 times, but this one's actually kind of special. For real this time. So what we have here is the C12 Arched Bridge set. And this set came out in 1999 as a nod to not only the 50th anniversary of Plarail being a thing, but also as a nod to the first set they ever released, which you can see right here. I believe this was called the Plastic Railway set, and what's cool about that one is it was before Plarail even had motorized engines. This engine was one you would just push around on a little figure 8 and
that was really it. This set thankfully does have a motor in it, so it's not necessarily the same as this one, but it's meant to be a bit of a nod to it, and not really a re-release, but you get what I'm trying to say. And wow, I mean, this is the first Plarail set I've ever had that isn't Thomas related, so it's very shocking to see, to say the least. Like, the box itself, everything about the packaging is just so catching. It really makes me wish Tomy didn't just do Japanese engines. Like, imagine if we had stuff like this in America, but instead of it being a C12, it was, I don't know, a USRA switcher, or maybe like a Santa Fe diesel. Like, that just would have been so cool. We sadly never really got that, though. This is fun. This is fine, though. This is enough for me. This is plenty. Thank you, Plarail. And what's funny about this is I believe I paid 50 bucks, I think, for this on eBay. It was, it must have been a new listing, because when I saw it, I just grabbed it immediately. Now that I'm kind of getting back into Plarail, I don't know a lot about the history so far, but at least knew about this set. And when I saw it for so cheap, I was kind of all over it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be reacting to and opening it for the first time together. So let's see what this thing is all about. Now, before I jump into taking it apart, let's take another look at the box here. This is exactly like how a Plarail Thomas box is set up, except subtract the Thomas from it. Here you can see the diagram of the engine itself. We have a little layout of the track, the little figure 8 there. This is a part that I'm very interested to see. A lot of Plarail wagons have the ability to have the top come off, and you can put these little figures or people in them. And I've never had not only a car that can do that, but one of the people. And this set should have one of both, as you can see here. We have little diagrams that show you how to put the track together, how to put the risers together. These show the trucks. Here we have the station. Basically just the general stuff of what the set itself contains and how to put it together. And the sides have this wonderful picture of the C12 itself on the bridge with the consist. You can see the little Plarail dude. I'm not sure if that's the one that... Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the one that comes with the set. So, yeah, he's there as well. And that pretty much follows along the entirety of the set, save for this area here, which I showed you earlier, which shows the first Plarail set ever. I don't want to get caught up on that too much. I'm really excited to actually open this thing, so let's just go ahead and do it. All right, let's go ahead and pull this thing on out of here. The box itself, as you can see, has, I guess, a bit of damage, so I'm going to try to be gentle with it. Alrighty, here we go. We are in. Okay, all right, this is going to be fun. This is going to be... Okay, wow. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. This is so fun to see. I've never seen a Plarail pack like this that didn't have a shiny blue tank engine or just, you know, something like that about it. This is so fun to see. All right, so let me show you what's in here and let's get to putting it together. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and the main layout is now complete, or the one they show on the box there. I built that one, as you can see. And really quick, before we get into operation and all of that stuff, I wanted to show you these pieces that I've never seen before. These are 1/3 straights, I guess, and I've never seen one, or I've never seen a 1/3 straight in the first place, let alone one that has 2 male adapters, or one that has 2 female adapters. And this set comes with both. It comes with a normal piece, the 2 female adapter piece, and the 2 male adapter piece. And where were these when I was a kid? Like, I didn't know Plarail even made pieces of track like this. This is so interesting. I know this is completely off topic, but I saw these and I figured I would mention that because I don't know about you guys, but never had one of these as a kid, and it would have came in handy. Really would have came in handy. And there's also this extra bit here. We have some extra track like this large switch here, and another one like so. We have 4 pieces of extra straights, and yeah, this is the whole thing once it's put together. Well, yeah, it's not really put together right now. That's my bad. And really quick, before we get into operation, I figured I'd show you this too. I still need to add that front hook or a new one there, but this is the little dude in his little brake van, without the top on at least. He has this little compartment that he sits in on the front, as you can see, and his legs just kind of fit in like so, and then you can position him however you want him to be, like that. This is just so fun. I wish there was more stuff like this in the Thomas part of Plarail. I know there's been a couple things made, like Sir Topham Hatt and Winston. There was the old slow coach bit, but this is my first time ever seeing this in person, so I guess it's just extra cool. And then you take the top part like this and snap it directly on the top, and you have a little dude. You can't probably see him right now, but he's in there. You have a little dude in a brake van. And now that we've gone through all that, let me get this fixed real quick. A battery in the C12, and let's see this thing in operation. You can't find him at all. Oh, there he is. There, are you all right in there, dude? Do you need a light? It looks a little dark. Are you comfortable? Cozy? All right, do you? And while we're here, let's also go ahead and get a new battery in this dude. And alrighty, let's check this guy out, shall we? And, whoa. Does he even... His switch was been... I just realized his switch has been flipped this whole time. Oh, no. Are you kidding? Okay, this is about to be bad, isn't it? Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Okay. Oh, is this broken? Oh. Wow. Okay. All right. That's... All right, man. What? I'm laughing because it's my luck. No, I'm not mad. This is just like, wow. Wow. This is not what I was expecting. So this is why you take your batteries out of your Plarails, because it will corrode the shit out of them. Sadly, I'll have to get another engine to take up the mantle of the running process, but at least he's still here. I'm hoping to... I'll get into some good Trackmaster custom videos and figure out a way to restore this guy eventually, or maybe I'll just buy a new C12 since they're pretty common in the Plarail range. We'll see. We'll see. But unfortunately, the engine is at least for now, a no-go. At least I got the set. Everything else in the set's fine, so I can't be mad. This is what it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at these smaller bits as well, like the 2 wagons and the station, which I was thankfully able to clean up pretty well from the mess of stickers that was on it originally. This is what the station is supposed to look like, more or less. I'm not sure if the stickers were intentional, but personally I prefer a normal station. That's just me. I'll also throw up a picture of what the bridge itself looks like once it's put onto a set. That is, they match pretty well. This is a fun set. But what's also really fun are the wagons this thing came with. Thankfully, these things don't have motors, so I don't have to worry about corrosion in them. That's a dub. And I'm pretty sure this one here is just a normal Japanese railway van. Not exactly sure what it says, sadly, but it does have these sliding doors here. Pretty well detailed, like, let's be honest. For a Plarail, to see this many things here on the door, there's rivet detailing, bits on the front. I imagine these are little vent areas. It's a lot, and it's welcome. This is very unique, to say the least. It'll be fun to go against the troublesome trucks or whatever else I have in a consist. This one is also a bit tricky. I'm not sure if this is a refrigerated van or maybe just a box car of some type. I'm gonna go with the first though. I think it's a refrigerated car. And this thing is pretty much exactly like the last. It's got all this extra detail, a lot of extra molding. It's got a white livery with this blue stripe that goes down the middle of it. It doesn't follow on the front or back, sadly, but it's at least there. Those bits also have their own bit of detailing, as you can see, and I honestly want to say these are more detailed than the brake van. Let me go see. No, the brake van has its own bit of detail. It's pretty much there as well, but I don't know. This is my first time ever seeing actual Japanese railway coaches made, or not coaches, just wagons made by Plarail in person, so it's hard to put them mentally up against anything, but for my first time, they're very nice. I want more, if that says anything at all. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to find a replacement for this guy to pull these. So let me go get on that, and let's see these things in action. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. You know, after putting this together and doing all the stuff with the wagons and such, this feels very wrong, but it is what it is. You know, we've talked a lot about what Plarail's done wrong recently, but let's not kid ourselves. Plarail has done a lot right over the years, and today we're going to be talking about one of the best things I think they ever did. This, in my opinion, is not only one of the best Plarails to ever be released, but probably one of the best pieces of Thomas merch ever, right alongside it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this Plarail TS17, the Percy and Rocky pack, the first Plarail set I ever had as a kid. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new one that was just opened. I did try to record the unboxing of this thing and then realized I wasn't recording, so oops. We're still going to talk about this box though, since Plarail boxes to me are just some of the best. So, as we can see on the front, we have CGI renders of not only Percy, but Rocky 2. We have Thomas and a Thomas and Friends logo right here. The bottom of the box has a front-facing render of Percy and Rocky, as well as a picture showing the pack once it's out of the box. I think these two top bits here are character cards, and one of my personal favorite bits is the back on almost every Plarail bit of anything. Here we can see the diagram on how you take Percy's shell off to get a battery in him, and here is the one that shows you what Rocky does, which, compared to the Trackmaster one, isn't a lot if I recall. This Rocky is not motorized, but he does have a magnetic crane, and as you can see, these little bits here that can extend for stability, or I guess realism, and here are the different warning labels. It's pretty typical for a Plarail box, but when you're used to nothing but normal American Trackmaster packaging, this is it's beautiful to see, I'll say that. That aside though, let's talk about these two directly, since if you ask me, like I said, this is one of the best Plarail packs you can get, period. And there is a bit of nostalgia that is saying that. I mean, this was the first Plarail pack I ever owned. Before that, it was nothing but Trackmaster, and this kind of showed me that there was better out there, and even now it still has that same feeling. This Percy in specific, as you can see, has a little surprised face, and if you know me, you know that's one of the things that I have always enjoyed about any bit of Thomas merch. If it has any other face than a smile, it's just automatically that much cooler to me. And let's be honest, it doesn't make much sense. I can't think of an episode where Percy and Rocky ever even interacted, but it's a fun pack. A surprised Percy with a Rocky, of all things. Does that not just... The vibe is there, if you ask me. It doesn't make sense, but also doesn't have to, because it just works. And this Percy is just beautiful. I love the face. It's got the white running board like every Plarail does, and the extra bit of detail, so I thankfully don't have to do that. It does not have a black chassis block though, so there is always a little bit of work for me to do. The back lamp is probably one of my favorite details. It's already painted white and also has this very nice metallic silver directly on the back. And the rest of them is just painted beautifully. There's no little slip-ups like there was on my Thomas from the Thomas and Nia pack. I did test his running, and he's going amazingly well. This is for $30. Actually, I think I paid less than that. I think this whole pack was 26 bucks. This is definitely one of the best bits of anything I think you can get. I don't regret getting more into Plarail recently, and things like this just kind of solidify it. But it's not just Percy that is great about this set. We also have Rocky, and Rocky is a bit, I guess he's a bit more hard for me to rank. He's definitely a bit more boring when compared to the Trackmaster one, let's be honest. That said though, I don't think he needs the motor. The Trackmaster one, and this might be a bit of a hot take, I don't know, I think it's a little overrated. 9 times out of 10, if you find one on eBay, the motor doesn't work anyway, and all it can do is lift a single crate, so oh well. At the very least, this thing looks good, and I can't think of anything else it would pick up besides, like the Trackmaster one, a magnetic crate, which it doesn't even come with, and I don't know if Plarail makes sets that has those, so that'd be kind of pointless. It still would be cool to see a hook or something like that on the end of this instead of just a yellow piece that fits onto his front car, like so. And I believe that's a magnetic fit, so once it's in there, it's not coming out, but it still will come out very easily, as you can see. And I guess if anything else, another nitpick I have is, well, actually, never mind. I was going to say that these were sticker detailings, but they are not. These are molded on the side. Wow, this thing is a lot better than I remembered. He's got an amazing face. I mean, like I said, I wish there was a hook for him to be able to pick things up, but at least he looks solid. Like, as a model, he is definitely there. Like, he's just, this looks like Rocky, it feels like Rocky, the proportions are there, just maybe chibi-ified, and it's a Plarail, so what did you expect? And let's go ahead and pop out these little stabilizers here. There's got this side, and these ones are a little bit stiff. I haven't done this yet, so maybe it's just since it's the first time I'm doing it, but it's not wanting to come out the easiest, sadly, at least for me. And there we go. All right. And there we have Rocky with his stabilizers. I'll throw up some better pictures and videos of what he looks like, since I imagine with this, it's probably not giving you the best idea, but he's not going to fit through any tunnels or bridges, I imagine, when he's in this state, but the fact you can put him in that state if you want to is just super cool. It reminds me of the Ertl breakdown crane, which is one of my favorite breakdown cranes ever, and it had a similar function to this. Now, one of the things that I think makes this pack so legendary is the fact that it's survived as long as it has. This thing has been out for a very, very long time, and still is being produced by Plarail, and you know, of all the trash I've talked about Plarail, I will always have to give them that fact. The fact that this thing is still around, and I don't see any signs of it not being, at least. That's just not something I can knock. This is not only nostalgic to me, but for 30 bucks, you get a crane and a surprised Percy. What other brand is going to do that? Like, name me one other bit of Thomas merch that will give you that much stuff for that little money. You get a cool box that, if you want, you can put the engines back into, or maybe just on a shelf. This is just, like I said, I do not regret getting into Plarail again. I should have never left it, honestly. I think I forgot to mention the crane here does have the ability to go up and down like this, but it's not going to do much else besides that. He does swivel, which is always fun. He's more just there for show. He's not going to be picking things up. He's not going to be functioning as much as he's going to be behind another engine and making it look good. And I know I just said another. He is not an engine. That was my bad. I'm tired. And if I had to give this pack a rating, even with nostalgia aside, this is probably an easy 10 out of 10. I could talk about the fact that he doesn't have a painted chassis block, but that's literally basically every other Plarail, so I'm not going to say anything, at least in that term. This is just a beautiful pack that gives you an amazing Percy, a solid Rocky, a piece of rolling stock, and when it comes to the other Plarail packs that I think are out right now, it's just hard to think of anything that's going to beat that. If you already have a Percy or a Rocky, it might not make sense to get one, but if you don't have a surprised Percy or a Rocky that's, you know, you don't have to worry about being broken, there you go. It's also interesting that they don't have CGI-styled faces like the renders on the box do, but that's just something that I noticed. I hope that never changes. I would hate to see the day this Classic Series face goes off of this model. I'm not doing much to this thing. I might paint his chassis block, but other than that, this thing is just perfect. And honestly, same with Rocky. There's not much to complain about. He's just a dude, a big dude, and you can't knock him for it. If I recall correctly, these move too. Yep, these areas move as well. They don't do anything, but just fun little action if you want, and it does move on both sides. So that's something. And I'm pretty sure that's all there is to these guys. He does have a back coupler, so if you want to extend the consist past Rocky, you have that option. And that is basically everything you get in this pack. So I guess with all that being said, let's just see these dudes in operation. Alright, yeah, the Oigawa James is nice. It's not like it's a Plarail model, though. Guess what? It really feels like the stars have aligned for this specific release. My favorite Day Out with Thomas event is Oigawa. My favorite Thomas character is James. And my favorite brand of merchandise is Plarail or Trackmaster. And, well, here we are. I say this all the time, but especially this time, I am very excited to get into this review. Now, for those who don't know and may just be seeing a weird James, this is James from the Oigawa Railway, specifically the C56 type James. And being that I'm the cursed Day Out with Thomas guy, I'll be the first to admit, it is the most blessed cursed thing I have ever seen. It doesn't look like James, but in a way, it does. It just feels like James when you see it. The C56 oddly works, even though it shouldn't, if you get what I'm saying. And here we are with the entire model in Plarail, and here we get a pretty good look at what the actual Oigawa James looks like. A front-facing, I guess, render. Kind of similar to how they do the CGI-styled boxes. They have this right here, but it's... I want to say this box isn't as decorative as a normal Thomas box. And I guess to me that's just a little bit weird, seeing as this was a limited release. You'd think they'd do a little bit more to make it stand out. This looks more like a typical Plarail packaging than it does anything else. That said, it is still very catching. It's just not as, I guess, fitting when you put it next to other Thomas boxes. For example, here's the Percy box, and this just has more vibrance than this does. And I guess that's a little bit surprising to see, but it's not like it takes away from the model. It's just, it's something I think Plarail could have done a little bit better. Let's take a closer look at the specifics, though. We have this is a different Plarail logo here. I'm not exactly sure what it says, but it does have the little figure there. The bottom has a side render of the Oigawa James, so you can get a better idea of what he's supposed to look like, and a picture of the model. Now, this one comes with a Oigawa coach, so that'll make 3 of those. So he'll have a proper rake and something to do. The top also has a side render, more of the same logos, and my favorite bit, the back, which shows you how to put the battery in James. And interestingly, he kind of looks like, it looks like you put a battery in him the same way you do the Oigawa Thomas or a C12. And just looking at this has me so excited to actually open this thing and get my hands on it. So I think that's enough about the box. This part here, if you can even see it, also shows the side of James, but that doesn't matter much. Let's just take a closer look at this guy. Alrighty. That open here, and here he is. Oh boy, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the Oigawa James. Now, I still have to get him out of this plastic bit, so let's go ahead and do that, but oh, this is gonna be a fun review. What is this? This is, oh wow, it comes with a little card. I guess a character card? This is not something I've ever seen with any other Plarail pack ever, so this is super unique. I like this. It's the same thing we saw in the box, just separate, I guess, for if you want to display it with the model, which is something I might do if I ever take this to, say, a train show or something. So that is super cool to see. And of course the instructions, which thankfully we don't need thanks to the box. And let's go ahead and get into James. Gonna do my best to be as careful here as I can. All right. Oh boy, okay, and there is James, and let's get out this coach, clear everything up. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the Oigawa James, and this is just immediately so much more than I thought it was gonna be. The detail on this thing is very unexpected. I don't know if you can see it so well on the camera right now, but on the boiler there is so much molded detail. Interestingly, the tender does not come off like I thought it would. It's not a separate piece. It is one of these unified pieces that will keep the entire thing together. And it doesn't look like there's a wire that runs inside of the tender either, so thankfully you don't have to worry about that becoming severed or messed up at any point like you did with Trackmasters. Even the tender front has some molded detail, as you can see there, and so does the back of James's cab, which I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect. The back of the tender has just as much detail too. I guess the only nitpick I can really give is His front lamp is painted, but the one on the back of his tender isn't, but that's a super easy fix for me at least. The face looks phenomenal, everything else is there. The tender does feel a little small, but proportionally the model is sound. The coal load inside of him looks a little different from, say, a normal Plarail coal load. That looks a lot more realistic than I think a normal one would. It's just so unique. It's so different when you put it next to, say, a normal Trackmaster or Plarail James. It feels weird, but it also feels right. Just like the actual Oigawa James, so they nailed it. Props to Plarail. Unlike Thomas, he actually has some buffers that stick out and protrude a little bit from the body, but that is not shared with the back of the tender, and I'm not sure if that's accurate to the Oigawa James. I'll have to double check that. That aside though, this is just so cool. It's so fun to see something like a Day Out with Thomas rendition of a character be made into a toy. But we can't just talk about James, let's also talk about this Oigawa coach, which honestly is pretty standard. I don't think there's much to say about it. I'm pretty sure this is just a normal Plarail coach, but molded in a orange livery rather than a brown one. That said though, one of the things I've always liked about these is, again, the amount of detail they have on them. If you look in the doorways, you can see the doors have detail, the ones on the back and the front of the coach do as well. And probably my favorite part, the top of the coach has a textured roof. Altogether, it's a nice coach. There's just not a lot to say about it. It's pretty standard. Personally, I would have preferred if they put, say, like a Oigawa Troublesome Truck in there or something a little more unique, but I understand why they did something like this. It's just easier. That, and when you've already taken your C56 and I guess butchered it or modified it enough to be this thing, you're probably not worried about a troublesome truck as much. I'm just happy we got this. And just for fun and because I was curious, here is this guy next to my custom Trackmaster James, and that is a hell of a size difference. It looks like the locomotive portions are pretty similar, but the tender is... That's crazy to me. This very much exemplifies how tiny this thing feels. Now, this can be attributed to the fact that this is, you know, a separate coupling and this is barred to James, but even then, let's line these two up. Just look at that. That's close to 2/3 of what this tender is. It just feels cute. And to be fair, when you look at the actual Oigawa James, that is pretty accurate. It's a very tiny tender anyway, so it's not like they're being unfaithful to the actual thing. It's just very shocking to see next to something a little bit more casual, or that I'm used to, I guess. Now, all of that aside, I really don't think there's much more or else to say. This model is a lot more than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be just a normal C56, just repainted, maybe retooled a little bit. This knocked any expectation I had out of the park. If you want, you can detail it a little bit more, maybe fill in these windows, again, paint the back lamp white, and those are things that I might do. If you want to see those, be sure to comment down below, and I might make a video upgrading this thing too. But, yeah, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Oigawa James. In my opinion, probably one of the coolest releases of James they've ever done, and probably ever will do. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we finally get this guy a battery and see him run. Love or hate Plarail, you gotta admit they know exactly what they are, and they do it well. They are a company who makes model trains, and some of the trains they've produced embody that term well, if you get what I'm saying. I can't really say those are ever the ones I go after. I'm typically collecting Thomas trains or Japanese railway locomotives, but there is a range that admittedly I've considered a few times before. That being Plarail's Disney Dream Railway line, which basically is different Disney characters or engines that are based off of Disney characters. There's a Donald Duck bullet train, a Mickey Mouse steam train, stuff like that. That said, I'm not the biggest Disney guy though, so they're never really things I go out of my way for. Or at least that's how it was. That is until I found out Plarail made this. I don't even know how to describe what you're looking at. This is, I guess, a Winnie the Pooh wooden steam train? Maybe it's Winnie the Pooh after he's been turned into a train. Yeah, at the very least, it's adorable. It's a wooden Winnie the Pooh train. And the box it's in is very catching, I have to admit. If there's anything I can give the Disney Dream Railway line, it's they have this box art down pat. Here we have a picture of Winnie the Pooh. We have the different Disney logos and the Dream Railway logo. We have a beautiful picture showing the engine and the different cars it'll come with. A little window that shows you the engine itself, the side show, I guess the entire consist. We have a really cool dreamlike background that looks like space, maybe the opening of a Disney movie, and that's on both sides. I believe this here is a information card with info on the engine, I guess. And of course, my favorite part, the back, and this shows you another picture of the locomotive and how the cars work. It looks like the little honey jars inside of them should move, and here we have another illustration of the different engines that are provided in this line. Looks like there's a Mickey Mouse bullet train, the Donald Duck bullet train, stuff like that. Like I said, those aren't really the things that have pulled me into this range. That would be this thing. So we're going to talk about this thing. Interestingly, the battery diagram isn't here on the back, but on the bottom. It's here where it shows you how to power the engine. It looks like it's just a normal sort of setup where the top part here comes off, you put the battery in, put it back together, and the train is going. So this should be pretty simple. I'm sorry I've been all over the place with this. I feel all over the place. I don't know how to feel about this. It's just, what? Let's go ahead and pull him out, because I'm curious to see. All right, there's the engine. I think this is the cars. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The most interesting review I think I've ever done. Definitely most baffling. I guess let's start with this engine here. Okay. If you didn't expect me to say this was adorable, that's your fault, really. Let's get him out of this little plastic prison he's stuck in here, and I'll show you what he looks like up close. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So here is this very strange, very odd steam engine. This is adorable. There's no other way to put it. Here you can see it has a wooden molded Winnie the Pooh face. It's got honestly really good wooden detailing on the boiler and all around the entire thing. It's got very nice red side rods that don't make any contact with the cab. You think they would, but it looks like they have pretty good rolling capabilities there. Looks like here we have a little wood load. Sadly, a molded wheel on the back, but it's not really that big of a deal, and just a very, very bright livery. What words can you use to describe this besides adorable and different? He has these almost Bowser-like boiler stripes here that I presume are keeping this thing from exploding. I think if an engine was built like this, it would probably not last very long, but at the very least it would. I mean, if it had this livery and a Winnie the Pooh face, it'd be a cute one. The front smoke box part has his little ears there, the funnel on top, and these little square, almost pug-like buffers that sit on the front. And just what a strange engine. If you're not a fan of Winnie the Pooh, I can't think of any other situation or reason you'd buy this, though. I'm not sure what else you'd turn it into, since I'd hope this isn't a real-life basis. Actually, no, I take that back. I do hope this is a real-life basis, and if it's not, I'm gonna make one. My personal idea for it was to make a little forest layout and have it run in the middle around a big tree or something, but besides that, I can't really think of any situation. A normal person would see this and be like, oh, that belongs in my collection. besides the fact that it's so cursed and adorable. Also, before I forget, the Mr. Sanders here is a nod to Winnie the Pooh's house. The top of his house says that same thing, so they put it on the side of the cab here, which I thought was really cool. And I think that's maybe a bell there. I'm not sure what this part here would be. Just what a strange engine. It's very cool, but there's not much else I can say besides that. And he comes with 2 wagons, as you can see here. And interestingly, it looks like, okay, actually, let me get these out of the plastic, then I'll say that. And here we go. All right, here's one car, and let's get this other truck out. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm noticing they kind of cheaped out on the second truck. As you can see here, the first one has a painted sign that says Honey Cargo Locomotive, that's spelled a little weirdly and kind of adorable. And this one here has the mold for that same sign, but does not have the sign. Thankfully, on this one, it does carry to both sides, but on this one, there is nothing, which does kind of stink a little bit, but at least they gave them different colored honey jars. And as you can see, these things, they shake like King Julian. They like to move it. And I'm pretty sure as the train goes... Okay, so these are the same as the Thomas and Nia pack. The wheels have a little bit of a bump to them, so when they move, they'll have a little bit of a groove and move the honey jars as the end of that process. I don't know what I was trying to say there. I don't know if you could tell. This is a flustering review. I don't know what else there is to say besides what the fuck. This is just such an interesting pack. I mean, if you're buying this, buy it for the fact that you'll never own another Plarail engine quite like it, or maybe see another engine in this design. This is just so weird, but in a good way. And I have to say, the wagons themselves complement the engine very well. The wood detailing is pretty much the exact same on the truck as it is on the engine, but again, yeah, that just means consistency across the consist. I have to say, altogether, what a banger pack. It's just so different, so odd to see something like this. But if I was gonna have a Winnie the Pooh locomotive, I would want him to have some honey jar cars, so they're doing it right at the very least. I find it hard to describe. I find it hard to give any real description besides strange, but it's cool. I have to say, this is not a purchase I regret. If anything, it showed me the Disney Dream Railway line is a little bit more interesting than I thought. So with all of that being said, let's just get a battery in this dude and see him run. What else is there to do besides that? See a therapist. I'll put that on my calendar. I need that after this. You know, we've talked a lot about modern Plarail on this channel, but if I'm honest, I haven't really seen a lot of new Plarail stuff, at least in Thomas & Friends merch. I do know that 2022 marks the year of, I guess, lower quality. The fact you have to put your stickers on some of these engines is mind-boggling to me, but we're not going to talk about that today. But recently, my fiance did gift me with, I guess, my most recent piece of Plarail merch, and that is the James being chased by a bee set, or the new Plarail TS14, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is my, I guess, newest piece of merch. This came out in 2022 and is one of the newest renditions of James, I guess, but it's also not. You might recognize this James from the 5-car pack that they made that came with this same bee, but they decided to take away 4 of those cars and put it in a normal train pack that replaced Ryan. The original TS14 was Ryan's skiff and I think a brake van, and they completely got rid of it for this thing. And I understand why some people don't like this model because of that, and the fact that it's also reused from a 5-car set, but I still haven't yet to see. I never had the 5-car set. I've never seen this thing in person. I'm trying to hold all reservations until that is done, I guess. There is something to be said about this box, though. I don't know if it's just me, but this just feels not as fun as the previous ones. It kind of feels like a Bachmann Thomas UK box. It's got this green backdrop, a realistic render of the engine here, and what's odd is James is smiling in this, and he's been stung by a bee. I don't think he'd be smiling in that scenario, nor do I think he ever did, but there it is. I had to double check, but the model itself does not have a smile, so the fact they put it on almost every render on the box is a bit curious, but there's that. They also didn't put James's tinder in the second window. Instead, they replaced that with the bee, and I assume the tinder is back here where you can't see it. And besides that, this box is typical but more boring, if that makes any sense. Here on the bottom, we can see a front-facing render and a clearer picture of the pack. We have on the back the battery diagram and a little diagram showing what the bee does, and the Stinger should go up and down as it chases James along the tracks. We'll see how that works. And it looks like this James is, again, one of the newer variants where you just put the AA battery inside of the locomotive and the tinder is separable. And that should be the long and short of the box. Here we have another picture of the engine and the bee. I'll be sure to put better pictures on screen so you can actually take it in. I imagine this isn't doing that very well. There's another render here on the front side, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Plarail boxes have this little tab that comes out, and if you're displaying this in a store, that makes that a lot easier. But if you're like me and put these on your wall, also a big help. And I guess that's really all there is to say about the box. It's turned down. It's kind of more mid compared to the previous renditions of Plarail boxes, but I guess you could say that about all of Plarail 2022, or we shall see. Haven't opened it yet. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it is. All right, let's see here. Let's get this bit open. And another thing that I found curious, and maybe I should wait until he's open to talk about this, this literally is just a reused James from that 5-car set, to the point where he even has a tinder that doesn't match this pack, or it looks like he doesn't from all the pictures on there. Maybe I'll be wrong. No, he has a tinder that doesn't make much sense. As you can see, he has butterflies, and again, that made sense in the 5-car pack, since I believe it was James pulling different zoo animals. But what do butterflies have to do with the bee episode? I don't. It's just kind of, they're being lazy. That long story short. And here he is in his little plastic prison. Looks like the bee is just separating the tinder from James. And here's a somewhat better look at that face. I know the refraction is not helping much, but let's go ahead and get him out of this. All right, let's get this tinder out of here. Here we have the bee, which, not gonna lie, is a little weird to see. And let's get this James out of here. All right, and that should complete the pack. And let's switch over to a bottom view. Welcome back to the model mat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's clear this area up a little bit and take a look at this 3-car pack. Now, I have to say, again, this James is kind of lazily done. It is reused from the 3-car pack, but for what it is kind of cute. Here you can see he has his little shocked face and the little red nose, and if anything, that is a nice introduction. They could have just used the normal smile, but they didn't, so I'll count my wins. It is still kind of weird to see the butterflies on the tinder, though. I feel like this is a missed opportunity to just have a normal James being chased by a bee, and I feel like most consumers would have preferred that, but it is what it is. Now, I haven't talked about the new Plarail James much, and if I'm honest, it's pretty much in the same league as the 2012 or 2009 James, the Trackmaster variant that also had a detachable tinder. It's pretty much, it's nice. It's exactly what you would have wanted back in the day. It probably doesn't perform as nice as an engine with a C battery tinder. Personally, I think those ones can pull more, and in some cases are faster, but who knows, maybe this mechanism will be different. When it comes to detail, I have to say it's definitely all there. The only thing this is missing is maybe a little bit of black paint here or on the back, and besides that, everything else is there. It's got a black chassis block. Thankfully, doesn't have a molded wheel here on the front. It still has that 060 configuration, which I know some people might critique, but personally, I prefer that over a molded wheel any day. And here again is the tender, which is pretty much a stock standard tender, but with these butterflies on the side. And these are not stickers or something that can just be easily removed. They are actually printed, kind of just like the 5 is. And again, that kind of stinks. If they were stickers, you could probably just pull them off. But yeah, again, there's that. I'm going to try not to keep tripping on that same point. And here's another look at him all together. I have to say this is a pretty nice James variant. If you have another James tender, very easily fixed. Or maybe if you have a customized James, just take the face off this, put it on that. I don't plan to do that with my customized James, but yeah, there is that option if you wanted to. Personally, I'm planning on leaving this just as it is, maybe even putting in a new higher voltage motor to make the bee chase a little bit more funny. And speaking of the bee chase, let's go ahead and talk about this, since this is something I have personally yet to see at all in Plarail. Now, just because I have yet to personally see it does not mean this is new. I believe this has been out for a while, and for what it is kind of cute. It's a backwards facing bee. The front coupler is where the little stinger is, and he's looking backwards, I presume, you know, as he's chasing James. He's got these little antennas on the front. He's got the little stripes and such here, the little wings, which are painted in blue. Though I have to say it looks a little weird. There's nothing here on the front besides the antennas. The eyes are kind of on the side, and that leaves this very open front part, which does feel a little weird. But does the stinger work? Yes, it does. Actually, it moves a lot more than I thought it was going to. That's actually kind of cool. This is very appealing to my ADHD. I don't know if you could tell. It's very smooth with its movement. It goes at a pretty good pace. If the train's going fast, it looks like it will too. If you take it slow, it's got a very slow and easier movement. Pretty nice, simple mechanism for what it is. Again, just a little bit weird that they didn't put anything or the eyes here on the front. Or, hell, maybe you just could have even carried it like in a Sonic way, like to the front or so. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. For what it is, it's cute. It's a bee car. It is a bee wagon. It kind of looks like Birdie if he was painted up in the Busy Bee James. I'm definitely overthinking it now. There you go. And here it all is together. And again, the bee does kind of face James as he's going and simulate a little bit of a chase, kind of like, I guess in the episode, I don't think James was ever chased by a bee, more just stung and then left the station, but it's a very cute idea. You know, I can't hate on it. It'll definitely be fun to see on the rails. And speaking of that, I've kind of accidentally destroyed them, so when you see them again, they'll be a little different, heads up. And realistically, if I had to give a rating to this James pack, I'd say it's a solid 7.5 out of 10, at least for me. You know, it's not really anything too grand. If you really want this James, I would say try to go for the 5-car pack, but again, this for me was personally a gift, so I don't want to knock it too much. In terms of replacing Ryan, I definitely don't think that was necessary. This could have just been a new one-off thing, kind of like the Monkey Thomas that they're doing. I'm not sure if that actually replaces any other Plarail pack either, but I know that this one, again, replaced Ryan, and that's why many people don't like it, and not gonna lie, that does stink. Ryan was a pretty solid pack. But for being a bunch of reused parts, it definitely is fun, and it fits the name of the pack very well. It is James being chased by a bee, oddly with butterflies on his tinder. They don't have that second part on the title because it'd be too long, but that's what I'm here for. I'm giving you the honest truth. I'll tell you what Plarail won't.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.
Hey, that crawfish alive, don't do that. Hey, that crawfish alive. Hey, I get that crawfish out of there. Hey, get that crawfish out of there.